Okay, I have been holding off this video for a while, but I think it's safe to say that the Wizards have officially won the Russell Westbrook trade. The reason I was holding this video off is because I thought the Lakers would have picked it up by now because, as you know, the Lakers are having a very disappointing season, and I thought they would have picked it up, but it appears that they aren't. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about why the Washington Wizards won the Russell Westbrook trade. But a quick disclaimer before the video starts, I am not talking about the two teams. I'm not talking about why the Lakers are bad, or I'm not talking about the Wizards. So if you think that I'm not talking enough about the Lakers or I'm not talking enough about the Wizards, it's because that's not the point I'm trying to get across. So don't go comment saying that I'm not talking about the Lakers or I'm not talking about the Wizards enough. I'm only talking about the players and the trade and why the Wizards won the trade. So with that being said, let's get right into it. So here is a look at the trade. Obviously, this trade happened on draft night, which was, I think, July 28th or July 29th. The Wizards sent Russell Westbrook, a 2024 second-round pick, and a 2028 second-round pick to the Lakers, and in return, the Wizards got Kyle Kuzma, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Montrezl Harrell, and the 22nd overall pick, which ended up being Isaiah Jackson, who they traded for Aaron Holiday. So essentially, it was Westbrook for Kuzma, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and Montrezl Harrell, and also Aaron Holiday. Now, before I get into anything else about the two teams, how they're playing, and why I think the Wizards won the trade, I want to go over every single piece and kind of just take a quick look, briefly, take a look at their stats. So let's get right into doing that. Starting off with Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook this year, there's a lot of controversy around him. Everyone's saying that he's having, a bad year. Everyone's saying he should get traded. And he is having a little bit of a worse year than last year, a little bit of a down year. But he is still Russell Westbrook, and he has still been the facilitator of the Lakers, the playmaker, and he has been still a pretty good player. It's just a weird fit. That's the reason why he's getting so much hate, because Russell Westbrook just does not fit with the Lakers for many reasons, including there's not enough spacing and all those things. He's averaging a solid 20 points a game with also 8 rebounds and 8 assists. Usual Westbrook numbers, just a little bit deflated. 46% from the field and 31% from 3, very inefficient. Especially he's only 65% from the line. He's averaging 5 turnovers a game, which is pretty bad as well. And he's averaging about 1 steal a game. So pretty decent season for Westbrook, but once again, the Lakers are disappointing and he just doesn't fit there. So that's pretty much all the Lakers got, and now I'm going to go over to the Wizards side. They got actually a lot of players, so I'm going to make it really quick going over their stats. Starting off with Kyle Kuzma, who's averaging about 13 points a game, 8 rebounds, which is really good, 3 assists, 42% from the field and 33% from 3. And overall, just a decent year for Kuzma. He hasn't progressed like I thought he would, but still having a solid season. He's definitely contributing to the Wizards' success. Now, Montrezl Harrell is a player that I'm really excited to talk about because I think he was the best piece that the Wizards have got in that trade. He's only averaging 14 points, 14.5 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, but he is shooting 65% from the field. But Montrezl Harrell is just such a good player. He is the defender, the interior defender that the Wizards needed off the bench. I believe he's getting more minutes than Daniel Gafford, who is their starting center. But yeah, Montrezl Harrell is just playing amazing. He's easily, maybe he's their third best player behind Beal and Dinwiddie. But yeah, he's really good. He's kind of that defensive anchor, and he just brings the energy off the bench that the Wizards need. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, not much to talk about. 11 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, shooting 41% from the field, 38% from 3. He's kind of just like the 3-and-D guy that the Wizards have. He hasn't really changed much since leaving the Lakers. Maybe the odd game he has a amazing game, drops 30. But yeah, overall, just a solid role player for them. And then the Lakers also gave the Wizards the 22nd overall pick, who ended up being Isaiah Jackson, but they traded into the Pacers for Aaron Holiday. Not much to say about him. 6 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. He's kind of just a role player off the bench. Nothing too crazy about him. And yeah, that is a quick overview of the players that both teams received in this trade. Now let's talk about some other factors. Now I'm going to talk about the two teams heading into this season. Both teams had their separate goals when it came to this trade. The Washington Wizards, though they had a good team on paper with guys like Bradley Beal, Russell Westbrook, and lots of other role players, they did not feel like they were in a place to contend. So they sent away one of their star players in return for just some younger players. And their goal was to just get younger, get worse, and do all that stuff that a tanking team would do. But for the Lakers, they had a very disappointing first-round exit last season, and they really wanted to contend, so they went on the market, and they started looking for a third star for LeBron, and Russell Westbrook happened to just, pop up. So, without any hesitation, they traded some relatively young guys. Kuzma's pretty young. Harrell's, I don't know what Harrell's age is exactly, and KCP's kind of like a veteran. But the point is, they basically traded all their good role players in return for Russell Westbrook, and their goal was just to contend with Russell Westbrook. They thought that this would make them a contending team because they just acquired another amazing star who just broke the triple-double record. They didn't care if they weren't deep. They didn't care if they couldn't shoot. They didn't care about any of that stuff. They just wanted to contend. So, heading to this NBA season, the Washington Wizards were supposed to be at the bottom of the league. I think most people thought they were going to be a pretty bad team. I did too, because they just traded a star for a bunch of role players when even combined, they weren't as good as Westbrook, because Westbrook just came off an amazing year. So I think that most people thought that the Wizards would be a relatively bad team, sitting at a bottom 5 team in the Eastern Conference. But the expectations for the Lakers were a lot different. The Los Angeles Lakers, even though people were pointing out things that didn't fit, such as they couldn't shoot, such as they had no depth, people still thought that they would be an amazing team just because of their star power. And I think most people, including myself, expected them to be at the top of the Western Conference, if not a top 3 team for sure in the Western Conference. And a quick overview of the records. The Washington Wizards are 17-15, sitting at 6th in the Eastern Conference, whereas the Lakers are 16-17, sitting at 6th in the Western Conference. So both these teams are doing pretty similar, and it kind of all depends on context. So they're both doing the exact same. They're both right around 500. They're both 6th in their respective conferences. And it really all depends on the expectations. Let me ask you this. Why do people think the Wizards are doing good, but people think the Lakers are doing bad, even though they're relatively the same record? Well, the reason is the Wizards had low expectations where the Lakers had high expectations. The Wizards were supposed to be a relatively bad team, whereas the Lakers were supposed to be sitting at the top of the Western Conference. And now that they're both average, the Wizards are doing better than expected, whereas the Lakers are doing worse than expected. And that is exactly why I think the Wizards won this trade. Because the Lakers got Russell Westbrook to contend, but they are not contending. They have so many problems with their team, and I'm not going to get into it. A lot of defensive problems, a lot of offensive problems, and they just have a lot of problems in general, but I'm not going to get into it because that can make a whole video, and I really don't want this video being too long. Where the Wizards' goals with the new players, their goal was kind of just to tank. They didn't care if they were bad. They didn't care if they were at the bottom of the conference. They were just trying to get some more new young players, get some more role players, and just develop as a team. And they didn't care their standings. They didn't care. They couldn't care less if they were at the bottom of the conference. So the reason I think the Washington Wizards won the trade is because the Lakers basically traded so much for Russell Westbrook in order to contend, and they are not even contending this year, which really sucks for them. Now, don't get me wrong, the Lakers 100% can pick it up, but I'm not sure if they will. There's so much problems with their chemistry, their offense, their defense, and yeah, so we'll see if the Lakers can pick it up, but if not, it's looking like a very bad trade, because now the Lakers have no future. Their team is way too old. But the Wizards, on the other hand, are looking like they have a pretty good future. They're a solid squad now, and when players develop in a few years, they are going to be a pretty good team. So that's going to wrap up my video, guys, on why I think that the Wizards won the trade. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.